you got to do is go to school. If you play sports, you got to go to school and you got to go to practice and you got games and you can't have a social life if you want to be the best at it. But if you just want to go to school for free, because that's where I want to go to school for free. Hey, make good grades. It's easy.
Hey, line for line, ain't no comp in this rap neither.
You waiting line for line and keep doing numbers. I gave them the game, trust we live for the summer. Got doctors and artists and athletic speakers. Come learn from my come up, I'm better than people. I'm in love with the grind, I'm in love with the culture. Do this for the fam, do this for Kenosha. You know I got you, Kenosha. If you got the vision, then come a little closer. Let's get it together, line for line with the soldiers. I'm in love with the grind, I'm in love with the culture. Do this for the fam, do this for...
Just like that, we're back in another episode of Line for Line podcast. I'm your host with the most, Devon Booker. We have a very special guest in the building. When I say special, this is someone I grew up watching on TV all the time. So I'm trying not to sound too fanned out on this episode today. But we have Mr. Tyrus Thomas in the building. Tyrus, how are you feeling?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
I know y'all drove out, so
of course.
I appreciate you coming out here to Green Bay.
Yes, sir.
Making this thing happen.
Even though I'm a diehard Chicago everything, I'm out here in Green Bay, the land of the Packers, you know.
Hey, man.
But that's neither here or there. When it's work, you don't even look at the city.
Nah, we don't look at the city. I'm out here, and, you know, it's making me miss Chicago a little bit.
Yes,
but,
sir. Yes, sir.
You know, the job is the job.
Yes,
you got
sir.
to be where your feet at.
Of course. The most cliche thing we do when we start a Line for Line podcast, we have our guests just tell the world a little bit about themselves. So now you have the floor to do that, young man.
My name is Tyrus Thomas from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Played basketball at Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. 2006 Final Four team. I was the SEC Freshman of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Atlantic Region Most Outstanding Player of the Year. Was the number 4 pick that year.
Mm-hmm.
Second team All-Rookie. 2010 won a Nobel Prize for Public Service. Certified life coach. Technically a student manager here at Green Bay right now. Got 2 semesters left to finish my degree. Dreams of being a college head coach. That's my ultimate goal. And that's part of the reason. That's the main reason why I'm here, at Green Bay, finishing my degree and taking the path that I'm doing. I know for some people it's like you were the lottery pick and now you're a student manager, but for me it's paying my dues and doing the things that I need to do to the things that I want to do. So
Of course. I think like a lot of people want to know. They want to know about the early life. What was it like growing up in Louisiana, Baton Rouge to be exact?
Baton Rouge, we have a lot of notoriety now from just, athletes and entertainers that have came from Baton Rouge. But, I like to say it's a city country. It's a country town, but it's actually a city. So it's the best of both worlds. And for me, it was normal. Slow motion.
Yeah. Slow motion is better than no motion.
Yeah, slow motion is better than no motion, but it gave me a lot of the passion that I have for helping young people, for helping people that look like me, whether that's athletically, whether that's socially, emotionally. Baton Rouge gave me a sense of pride when I was able to leave there and see that a lot of things that we had normalized weren't normal. And then just being able to be grateful for being able to persevere and make it through. Baton Rouge it definitely it gave me the sense of self that I have, and that allows me to be the person that I am, which I like to think is a good person most of the time.
Of course.
I'm not always a nice person, but I think I'm a good person. And I'd rather be a good person than a nice person.
Of course.
But I think that just stems from like my upbringing in Baton Rouge, which we probably will touch on more. I know it's kind of like I'm rambling, but Baton Rouge is so diverse but not diverse. And so segregated but not segregated. It's so divided but not divided.
It's still part of the South, so we
right. Like
it's that.
So it's and because I played at LSU, I had a different experience than
most would have.
than like some of my friends that look like me that grew up 5 blocks from LSU like I did. So it opened my eyes to a lot of the world's working and just the mentality that I have now of always trying to help others, especially those where I come from, because I know how hard it is just to overcome the adversity of where we were. The things that we normalized, the lifestyles that we normalized, and I'm just saying, like, from economical situations, a lot of times when people look at places and they're like, oh, your environment, we look at crime, we look at things like that. We look at the drugs, we look at the crime, but we don't really understand the root of it, right? And so wherever you lack resources, you're going to have crime.
Of course.
Right? Wherever you lack resources, you're going to have a lot of misunderstanding. Wherever you lack resources, you're going to have low education rates. Wherever you lack resources, healthcare is going to be low. So, when I left Baton Rouge and I got to Chicago, it was kind of like a rebirth, like I was,
breath of fresh air.
Well, actually, it was a fresh air, but it was like a realization of like, dang, we behind.
Yeah.
Like, like we behind. So, yeah, Baton Rouge is going to forever be a part of me.
How much would you say media plays a part of that, though? Like, let's say Chicago, for instance. Most people come to Chicago, they won't know about the death, the crime, and all that if they're not watching the news constantly. They know it for Millennium Park. They know it for the Chicago Bulls, the Bears.
Yeah, so I would even, media is a big part. Media is a big part of perception just in general. And, I've always had a disdain relationship with media just because I learned early that, perception is everything. What's portrayed or passed over through the media it becomes reality quick, right? So, like that, I've never had a bad situation in Chicago.
Of course. Especially and the superstar you were as well.
And I mean, I was in places that some people said I shouldn't be.
Oh, really?
Right, but I grew up in places like that, and I understand respect, and I understand treating people like people, and I understand life, right? And so I think, because again, we go back to crime. Crime is in every community.
Of course.
It's just depending on if they're reporting it or not.
And they're not. And
right? And so
they're reporting.
There you go, right? So, like, I'll never be like, oh, Chicago is this bad, and I carry myself a certain way, and I experience certain things, and I think that's true for anywhere you are, right? Like, if you go into any impoverished neighborhood, and if you go to any place and the people haven't eaten for 3 days and you got all this food around you, you're crazy if you don't think they're gonna want something.
Exactly.
So it's one or two things can happen. Either you can, or a few things, to not have problems. One, don't bring that around them and show them that and not give them access to it. Two, if you are gonna bring it, give them access to it and also have the mindset that you're gonna teach them how to get their own. Or three, be prepared for what comes with that.
What's the saying go? Give a man a fish, you'll
feed him for a day, but teach him, right? And so, like, that's the mindset of people. If you coming showing me something that I never had, but you're teaching me how to get it, you usually gonna be safe here.
All the time.
Because you teaching us, you helping us. But if you gonna come dangle this in my face and you're not gonna teach me how to get it nor share it,
and you got the cameras with you to make it seem like, but what it's really for, really for that, to make you.
We had a rapper, Nussy, say, if you ain't sharing, I ain't caring.
Exactly.
Right, and like people look at it as barbaric, but that's anything.
Yeah.
Right, like you look in the wild, if hyenas don't let lions eat peacefully, you're not about to eat in front of us. Like we haven't eaten.
I want some of that.
Yeah, I don't care how big you are. We got numbers.
Yeah, and there's strength in numbers too. So you always got
right. And so it's like, and I think that's what and even my transition to Chicago, I didn't experience what the news said was going on, right? But I also, every time I went on the south side or on the west side, I was going read to the kids. I was going to Crane High School. Like my second year in Chicago, I adopted Crane High School.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it reminded me of my high school, right? Like I vividly remember like having programs there, telling Tony Allen and Will Bonham, like, man, y'all got to come help me with these crazy mofos. You know what I'm saying? But that's because I can remember 2003, my senior year of high school, Jesse Jackson came and he adopted McKinley High School. So he was talking about the Rainbow Push Coalition and da-da-da. But at the time, my school didn't have air in the auditorium. So I was the kid that always got in trouble for blurting out. It wasn't like malicious trouble, but I was going to always say whatever I wanted to say.
Exactly. See that.
So while he was standing on stage talking, it was hot. I'm like, yo, y'all need to put some air in this motherfucker. Right? And so he's like, oh, we gonna do that, da-da-da. And so fast forward 2 years, now I'm in Chicago at the United Center and he's there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember after one game, it was like, man, Reverend Jackson, I want to talk to you. I go outside. I'm like, man, you don't remember me, huh? He's like, yeah, I came to LSU before y'all went to the Final Four and I prayed. I was like, yeah, you did. I said, but remember the year before, 2 years before that, when you adopted McKinley High School in Barry? He's like, yeah. I said, remember they had a kid stand up and say, y'all need to put some air in there? I was that kid.
Yeah.
And he just was looking. And I was like, you ain't never put air in there. So it's one of those things of like, I was able to get to Chicago and see that it wasn't no different than where I was from.
Mm-hmm. Just
right?
different location.
Right. It's a bigger city. And the parts that got resources are thriving, and the parts that don't, they're not. And they got people making false promises to them just like they doing to us.
And I'm no conspiracy theorist, but I think it's all set up to be that way, though.
I mean, it is what it is. So at the end of the day, regardless of how the game's set up, if you want to win, you got to figure out the rules and play that way to win it, right? Like if you can spend the time saying what it shouldn't be, but we probably not going to be able to change the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you got to figure it out. And play it,
of course.
Of
course.
So getting to Chicago really it opened my eyes to like how much things were different, but also how much things were the same as far as just how the world works.
Of course. Now, taking it back to basics, can you just tell us when basketball was introduced into your life and when you saw yourself becoming the person that you made it to be, to go to LSU, made it to the league and parts beyond?
Man, my uncles, they grew up in sports. So I think probably like by the time I was 3, like if I couldn't go with them, they couldn't go. They was my babysitters.
Yeah.
Right. They're my uncles with them, my big brothers. As far as the role they played. And so 3 years old, I'm in the gym. 4 years old, I think, 4.5, I was on my first. I made 4 in August. That fall, I was on my first organized basketball team.
At 4?
Yeah, it was like a 6 and under team, but I was at the gym every day anyway, so they let me play.
Were you always one of the tallest around as well?
Nah, I actually was one of the shortest in 10th grade. Yeah, after 10th grade, I had a growth spurt. I grew 6 inches in one summer.
What the heck?
Yeah, so I grew up playing guard my whole life.
You were a guard?
Yeah.
You were a forward when you got to the Chicago Bulls, right?
Yeah. So after 10th grade, the last day of 10th grade, that was my first dunk didn't come until the last day of school, 10th grade. My friend Marquise Alexander, he's dead now, but I never forget, he threw it off the backboard and I caught it and I dunked it, tip dunked with 2 hands. And that was the first time I dunked. I think I was probably like, I don't even think I was 6'1", and I came back to school 6'7".
What the heck?
Yeah.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So at what point was it when you started to become great at basketball, you knew that you were gonna take this further?
I think I like to think that I always was pretty decent in basketball. That's the conversation I like to have, man, because I didn't get into basketball looking for nothing. Basketball is my sanctuary, right? Like I played basketball because I loved it. I played basketball because it was peaceful. I played basketball because it got me away from the thoughts of all the negative things that were around me. And I grew a passion for the game of basketball. So I didn't play basketball to get to the league. Of course, every kid has those child like, oh, I want, you might say it, but I wasn't driven by the things that you could possibly get from it.
Mm.
I was driven by the feelings that it gave me, the feelings that shooting a basketball and hearing the ball hit the nets, or, at one point it was the milk crate that we had tied up under the street light. It was nailed to the street light in front of the house, right? And so just hearing the ball go through that, or trying to put this basketball in this square bucket, like it was all while escaping everything else that's going on in my life, right? So like that's why I played. I got drafted in 2006, and I think it was probably 2 months before the draft to where it really set in, like, you finna get drafted.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I just was hooping.
Yeah.
I redshirted my first year. Didn't start the first 10 or 11 games my year I did play. So, like, I didn't have the, when I did get put in the starting lineup, I can remember the coach come and tell me, and first thing I said was, hey, did you tell, like the guy that he was switching me out, like, did you let him know that you put me in the lineup? And he was like, what do you mean? I'm like, we need him to win, right? Like, we need him to win, and you can't tell him that I'm starting in front of the team. You got to tell him first, because we need him to win. And if he don't want it, if he not okay with it, I'm going to stay coming off the bench, right? And so, like, I played to win.
Yeah.
I played for the love of it. Like, that's, and I got rewarded. So yeah, like I never had the, I didn't go to Adidas camps. I didn't go to All-American camps. I didn't have those experiences, so I wasn't around the things that made the NBA dream a reality. It was just, for me, it was like, I'm gonna use this ball, go to school. Again, coming from Louisiana, it's like, shit, in my mind, I thought I was going to get a good job at the plant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the best jobs in Louisiana as a man. You work at the goddamn chemical plant, right? And it's like, it took me leaving Louisiana to find out that ain't it, cuz.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to do that, but coming from where I'm from, that was a thing. So, right, but like literally it's like 2 months before the draft where I'm like, dang, I'm probably gonna be a lottery pick.
Of course. What piece of advice would you give out there to the youth who are watching this and listening to this about finding your passion for the game versus looking at the glorious and glamours that may come with it versus putting the hard work in?
I think a lot of it is the parents' fault first. I think we need to talk to the parents before we talk to the kids, because the parents are helping support the unrealistic dreams. And when I say unrealistic, I don't like to be a dream killer, but I just feel like it's more emphasis put into sports than it should be. And I say that because I didn't grow up, like, I don't think 9-year-olds should be doing the same workouts that pros are doing. No, your body ain't developed enough yet. Your body's still growing, so certain strains that you putting your body through, you ain't ready, right? Certain things physically, you're not, and that's what we're skipping steps, right? Like, we're skipping steps, and we expecting so how old are you?
I'm 31, excuse me.
You're 31, all right, so probably need you to be a couple years older. Do you remember the regular Nintendo?
I do.
All right, so the regular Nintendo, remember Mario? All right, so remember how you can use cheat codes to skip board?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Right?
Give me
so watch this, though. So I could use a cheat code at, like, level 3 that'll get me to level 10. But I can't beat level 10 because you have to learn how to beat level 10 on 7, 8, and 9. Exactly. So without playing 7, 8, and 9, yeah, you got the 10, but you're never going to beat 10 because you don't know that you got to spin and jump on Cooper's head 3 different times before he blow up.
Exactly.
Right? So now when you meet the big Cooper, you don't know how to beat him because you ain't never go fight Lil Cooper.
Yep. Skip the steps.
So you skip the steps of Lil Cooper, so now when you get the King Cooper, you can't get past it, and you blaming everybody else except yourself.
Exactly.
It's the coach fault. So now I done went to 4 coaches. I got 4 King Coopers. And it's all they fault, but you forgetting that you ain't go through Lil Cooper.
Yeah. Skipping this process.
You skip the process. So now you're going to, instead of accepting the fact that you skipping steps, you're going to blame everybody else, right? So like the era of AAU, right? And so now when people have these conversations, they don't even, I'm a man of God and I love the Bible, right? But I also understand that the most important part, and a lot of people not gonna agree with me on this, but the most important part of understanding the Bible is understanding language.
Yes, sir.
Understanding the language that it was originally written in and the context in which it was written in, right?
Talk to him.
So until you can understand the original language and context, and especially us in America, and when we realize that the American English language is the most difficult and the most construed language, right? So what we use as a word now is not what it meant when the Bible was written, and it is wrong, and you can never compare it to that, right? And so it's the same when we talk about the sports, and I got that deep to say, so we like AAU now, AAU now, AAU now. AAU now doesn't exist. You got EYBL, which is not sanctioned.
It's not?
It is, but it's not AAU sanctioned, right? So you got the Nike, you got Puma, you got
Under Armour,
you got Adidas. Them four, okay, cool. Everything else is mom and pop. So if your kid is not playing in that, everything else that they're playing, unless it's YBOA or AAU, which is watered down now, it's not sanctioned. So when AAU was sanctioned, when I played, it can only be so many teams per area.
Just talking to him. You preaching right now.
Right?
Yeah.
You can only have so many, because each team had to be registered through the Amateur Athletic Union, AAU.
They don't do that nowadays. You got
Right. So in order to go to AAU Nationals, you had to be able to you had to be registered through AAU. You had to play your regional tournament, you had to play your state tournament, then you had to go to nationals. So what that did was consistently across the board, across the country, paperwork was the same. Rules were the same. Regulations were the same. And now, if your kid didn't make these three teams that was in the area, what they had to do, go work on their game.
And not team hop, right? Not team hop or not coach hop, whatever the case may be.
You had to go work on your game. It's three teams in the area. If you're not good enough for either one of them, you ain't got nowhere to play. And guess what people did? Guess what the narrative was then? Well, son, you just got to work on your game and get better and try again next year. Well, guess what it is now? The coach don't like my baby.
I'm taking
the coach out. We gonna just start our own team.
Yep.
Right. So again, before we could address the kids, we gotta address the parents. Right. We gotta address the parents that are trying to make the road easy for their child instead of prepare their child for the road.
How is it that we go about addressing that? Because obviously all parents want their kids to succeed, and they are scared of reality. How is it that we get them to understand, like, yep, your kid just needs to go back and work?
Context. What's success? I just talked about we got to understand context. So what is success? What does success look like for you, and why it looks like that? Because the NBA, it doesn't represent success in basketball.
You talking to him right now.
Making it to the NBA is that, yeah, you are successful, but that isn't everybody's success. Because some of us don't even have, so again, you can't measure the fish the same way you measure the elephant or the monkey, right? And that's what a lot of people are doing when it comes to sport. When it comes to sport, we don't realize that, this is not equal. It's not fair. Everyone doesn't get a chance, right? This is competition. Nothing is fun about competition. Nothing is fair about competition. Nothing is equal about competition. May the best man win. Simple, right? And some people, what's happening is some people are burning their kids out, trying to live vicariously through their kids. And so a lot of what you're seeing now is dissatisfied parents that's rubbing off on kids. And now you got the bad attitudes and the bad body language and the lack of reality coming from the kids. Why? Because the parents mad. because I done spent all these nights taking you to train, and I done spent all this money, and I done neglected the fact that me as your dad, I'm 5'9", and your mama 5'2".
That's fine.
I'm neglecting the fact of that, and because I spent this money, my child should be playing. That don't work like that nowhere else, and nothing else. And nothing else does it work like that. So, like, if that's the case, why are we not spending thousands of dollars on tutors and we just having straight A students that's going to school for free on scholarship academically?
Because that's not cute.
Why are we not doing that?
That's not cute.
Because honestly, if you looking to pay for something and get results, academics is the best way to do it. That's the best place to spend your money if you want to pay for results. It's not in sports, because sports take a whole lot of other things that God got to give you that you can't learn.
And you can't buy either.
You can't buy and you can't teach.
Facts. I'm like shook right now.
And because we have to push that. Like, at the end of the day, I hadn't played basketball for real in over 10 years. And it's a 38-year-old out there that works out every day, and I still will run circles around him because I have things that you can't teach. I have things that you can't work on. Now, although it's things that I have to do to keep those things up, I have those things, and there's nothing that people that don't have those things can do to have those things.
Very true.
It's nothing that I did that made me grow 6 inches in one summer. God did that.
It was intended for you.
If I did that, everybody could do that. It's nothing that I did that made me go from having a 28-inch vertical to a 40-inch vertical in one summer. If it's something that I did, everybody could replicate that. And that's what people don't really want to hear about sports, especially the professional athletes. They got things that you can't teach and you can't take away. And they don't always say it, and I know the narrative is when you work, you're going to get this. That's not true. That's not true when it comes to sport. Because I know some guys that don't work out and lead the league in minutes played, and they're going to be in shape regardless because they have that. They have a very strong cardiovascular system, and they've had it since birth. And it don't take suicides for them to get in shape. They heart pump like that. And they could do a whole lot of extracurricular activities and still come in the gym, and their heart gonna still pump like that. Most humans can't do that.
How is it that we change the narrative when it comes to like the parents and the sports and the basketball world?
I mean, I think, and it's not. I think it's in a. I think a lot of that is we can blame social media. I think media access is great, but it's also a deterrent, because what it does is it allows people to see things and start to desire things that they shouldn't have the desire for. Right? Like, some people shouldn't have, like, the way your life going don't match up the things that you liking on and the things that you spending your time, and like you missing the gap of what you need to do and what they've done to acquire those things and where you are. Right? And so, like, again, it's forcing people to skip steps. Right? So now when a parent watches an NBA workout, they, oh, my kid should be doing that because I want him to go to the NBA. But you ain't watched the last 20 years of what these people did. So you skipping steps. They didn't start here. Oh, I want my son to do the Steph Curry shooting drill. Have him do what Steph Curry was doing when he was 10. You don't want to do that, though. Right? So kids, you watch kids now, kids can shoot from the volleyball line, but they can't do a right and left hand layup. That's bad. And I blame the trainer. So I'm talking to the parents, because you need to stop paying these people if your kids don't have basic fundamentals, but they can shoot the basketball from. If you could do a 5-dribble combo and you can't consistently do a right hand and a left hand layup,
something's wrong. You got me seeing the world through a different lens right now.
Right? Every kid is playing. You could look at a kid now, like, especially being on college level, I've been able, especially like some of these big name trainers that got college kids, you could tell who trained with who, because all y'all game look the same. But all y'all don't play like that. So these kids are learning to be one skill and one dimensional instead of going through playing, loving the game, figuring out what they do best, right? Because we mess kids up. Kids don't realize we got 7-footers shooting threes. Yeah, that's cool, but board men get paid. Kawhi told you that a long time ago.
Yeah.
They act like Reggie Evans ain't make $10 million a year. Right? They act like Quincy Acey ain't make $8 million a year. And this before the numbers was what they is now. Right? I got 5 years 40 in 2010 to be a utility guy coming off the bench. Imagine how much the utility guy coming off the bench getting paid now.
And today's
right? Imagine what you getting paid now. Right? But everybody want to be the star, but we don't got enough space for all y'all. So once you done worked on just one part of your game because you want to be the man, which is scoring, and now you get somewhere where they don't need you to score, guess what? You're going to fizzle out because you don't know how to do nothing else. You can't rebound, you can't pass, you can't cut, you can't take contact, you can't take coaching. Mentally, you messed up if you don't get shots. So it ain't got no place for you.
Well, they'll just jump teams then, if that's the case.
Yeah, but it's cool because they're going to keep jumping and the coach going to keep being the fault for the same reason. And then at some point, everybody going to look at you. They're going to be like, dang, so you done went to 3 places and coach still the problem?
What's the common denominator, huh? What's the common denominator?
Right. So, I think a lot of it is just like, the lack of reality with the parents. That's why I'm going to start with it because I'm old school, man. I believe a child's supposed to stay in a child place.
Of course.
Now, I feel like children have way more places than my elders told us we had, but it's still a level of leading, that I think as parents, coaches, mentors, we have to do a better job.
Of course. Now, we talked about your growth spurt in 10th grade as well, too. Obviously, that's 10th grade in high school. Can you just tell us a little about what it was like finding your college and how you ended up at LSU?
So I actually committed to University of Miami. Yeah, Perry Clark was the coach at the time. And Perry got fired. Perry got fired, man. Old Perry Clark, man. Hey, if you watching this, Perry, I love you, man. Perry got fired, and Perry called me. And it was like, man, they letting me go, da-da-da. He told me who the new coach was coming, and it's like, but I wasn't feeling it because I didn't know that guy. So I actually, Seth Greenberg was the coach at Virginia Tech, so I had just went on my visit to Virginia Tech, and then after I got off that visit, I committed to the U. And when I committed, he gave his last scholarship away.
No.
And so, so LSU was the last big conference school but I was off them because they had initially asked me to walk, and they ain't really want me initially. Glenn Davis and Garrett Temple was already going there. We all grew up playing together. And Garrett dad, he had a lot of influence at LSU. And, they didn't want to take me. And so some things happened right as Perry Clark got fired. The other kid that they were recruiting got into some trouble, so it opened up a scholarship. And it was like I was left with there or, the other schools that were recruiting me were like mid-major. Johnny Jones was at North Texas at the time. Ricky Blanton was at Nicholls State. And like them was the two. Those were the two schools. So, like, after Perry Clark got fired, it was North Texas, Nicholls State, LSU, and Southern University. My late Uncle Thomas Hall, he was a strength coach at Southern at the time. He was like, nah, coach, you ain't coming here.
Oh, no.
It was like a business decision, you know what I'm saying? Like, coach, you got to go to LSU, coach.
Yeah.
So, but I was off it because, I was like, at the time, I didn't know how to separate my emotions from business. Right, so like when we talking to these kids about recruiting, it's the coach's job to go get the best players available. It ain't personal.
Yeah, it's a business.
Right, so I went to go get the best player available, Tyrus, and we don't have no more scholarships for you. Well, now we got a scholarship, and I couldn't accept that at the time, but it was a business decision. Still get to go to the SEC, right? So that's how I ended up there.
Yeah. Now, can you speak to those kids out there who are listening too about how to separate your emotions from business and understand? Yeah, they may not want you, but you still got to go show up, show out, work on.
Well, I think even more now with emotion. One of the things I hate is this new era of kids that's on this whole D1 or bus train.
Especially if you love the game.
Sickening. If you love the game, you just want to play.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you love the game, you'll go D2 where you can play 40 minutes a game over going D1 where it's going to take you 3.5 years to touch the floor. If you love the game. Right? And now a lot of things is for the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if y'all don't mind going D2 or D3 or NAIA, hit me up. I got some ways that I can help with that. And that's what people don't realize. It's easier to get a scholarship D2, D3, NAIA than it is D1. And contrary, those schools got a lot of resources. You got to understand, most D1s are state schools. So when you're talking about private institutions, they got more money.
Yeah.
They can do more things. They have more leeway. They have, right? So now if you got a 3.5 and a nice ACT or SAT score, you gonna go to school for free, right? We don't want to come out of pocket. We don't care where the money come from. I don't want a full athletic. Man, let them people mix their money so you ain't got to come out of pocket and you can still play. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, right? I want it, man, however you got to get it. So those grades, they're going to help you, especially if you're not D1, because most of these kids are not D1. That's what they don't understand anyway. If you're sub 6 feet, you're probably not D1. There's only 10% of guards in D1 that are sub 6 feet. So if you're sub 6 feet, you're probably not D1. Again, the reality is D1 coaches don't want sub 6 feet guards unless you do something very spectacular. Finishing above the rim, shooting 45% from the three. But if you sub 6 feet, now you got to remember, I don't need you to shoot 40. I need you to run the team.
Yeah.
So are you a real point guard? Can you see? Can you defend? Can you defend a bigger guard? Can you defend that 6'4" point?
A lot of things that go into this.
Right? If you 6'6" and you can't handle that ball, you're not no center. We don't need no 6'6" center on the D1 level. For instance, at Green Bay, I got a kid 7'1" with a 40-inch vertical. What you gonna do at 6'6"?
All right.
At 6'6", cause I got Marcus Hall who's 6'8", and he shoot the leather off the ball, and he gonna put you in the post, and he gonna put the ball on the floor, and he gonna drop it between his legs. At 6'8", so if you 6'6", and you think that you a center, nah, cuz, yeah, you are not on D1 level. But there's a lot of NAIA schools that'll make sure you ain't got to come out of pocket to come there and play for free. Did I say full athletic scholarship? Nah, but you ain't gonna have to come out of pocket.
But that's not cute, though. That's not getting me the Instagram likes. That's not getting me the Instagram models and the Instagram, all that. They don't know the school, you know? So what am I supposed to do with that?
Shit, most of the people who Instagram you liking this model's Instagram, she sleeping on the floor, on an air mattress. You looking at this dude with all this money, that's money not his, that car not his, that money ain't real, that jewelry ain't real. Like, it's for show. So why it matter? Like, they got a dude I follow, he got 100,000 followers, and his tagline is, you want to go D1? And people follow him because he talking about how to go D1, but he not even D1.
He's not?
No.
Then how is he giving advice to go?
Because it look cute and it look good, and that's what the people want. I don't want the real. Real is hard. If you telling me how to do it for real, that's hard. I don't want to listen to that. I want to do it my way and blame somebody else when it don't work.
And look good while doing it.
And look good while doing it. I want to look good drowning.
Yeah. Hey, that is facts. That is, man.
Yeah, I want to die looking good. I don't want to survive and struggle. I want to die. I want to get it over. I want it easy.
I want to skip the process.
I want to skip the process. Instant gratification. And if that means just die looking good doing nothing, I'd rather die than do something and struggle and not look cute doing it. That's basically what they're saying.
Exactly. Man, you got me thinking right now. You got me thinking about life right now in general. Taking it back to your story, though. Obviously, you end up at LSU. You just tell us a bit about what your tenure was like at LSU. And
so the first year was just growth. You know, I redshirted, and yeah, I think it was the best thing for me, though. Like, I was just able to learn the speed of the game and learn what the coach wanted from me and learn what I would need to do to produce. And that way, when I got that opportunity, I did it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Obviously, he did more than that because it landed you as the 4th overall pick in the draft, which was the Trailblazers, and they traded it to the Chicago Bulls.
Correct.
I told you I'm a diehard Bulls fan, so y'all better stop trying to try me out here. But yeah, so can you just tell us a bit about what that was like going from the SEC and the top level, making it to the NBA, which many people don't get to do?
It was a journey, you know.
And this was 06 year.
Yeah, it was 06. You know, you heard Killer Mike latest album?
No, I have not, but I love this door.
Yeah, you sleep. You sleep on that one. You got to listen to it. But he started off, and he talking, and he say, man, I can't say it was hard throughout the journey. It's just been a journey, right? And I think for me, it just was a journey. It was a lot of lessons, a lot of things that I learned about myself. At the time, a lot of things that I didn't agree with, but where I am now, I'm happy that I had those experiences. You know, like, I'm a realist, so it was a lot of time I'm like, man, I should have stayed in school.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it was like, my rookie year was a lot of times where I'm like, man, I fucked up.
Yeah. Like,
I should have stayed in school. You know, I wasn't playing. I asked to go to the D-League. They wouldn't send me to the D-League. So, you know, it was hard. I had to learn how to maneuver in a new space. I had to learn how to be a professional.
Was this rookie year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, you know, like I said, it just was a lot. Just my first time interacting with a psychiatrist. So it was good, though.
Which is very slept on in our
it's very slept on.
So misunderstood.
I slept on it even then for like 10 years. I thought he was the police. I didn't want to talk to him. He worked for the team. Excuse me. But it's just that first year, I just learned a lot about myself.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of highs, a lot of lows. That life just transitioned. Again, I spent my whole life in Baton Rouge. My dorm room in my house was like a 5-minute walk.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
my God. Yeah.
I ain't never leave.
At what point was it when it started to click for you when you were with the Chicago Bulls?
Man, I ain't gonna lie. It took me a long time to really process that I was in the NBA. It took me probably like 3 years, like, before I realized that, like, I was really in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
It just was basketball. Like, it just was, you get up, go to work, go to practice, hoop, do it every day. And, like, it just kind of was a monotonous ritual.
Yes, sir.
Almost.
Yeah. Well, if it took you about 3 years, that takes us to my next topic point, because it's the 08-09 season. Chicago Bulls, they go against the Boston Celtics, which is one of the most prestigious playoff series of all time, most attended games. You guys took them to Game 7 as well, too.
Mm-hmm.
You guys had Ricky Derrick Rose on the team, and you're going against vintage Paul Pierce, vintage Kevin Garnett, vintage Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo. Can you just tell us a little bit about what the atmosphere was like and just what the time was like for you guys getting ready to go face them?
Man, it was good, you know. We just was young and hooping. Mm-hmm. Like, literally. Yeah. D Rose was a rookie. Joe was in his second year. I was in my third year. Like, we just was young and hooping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was, you know, it was special. Like, I know, like, Game 1, I hit 2 big jumpers in overtime, you know, to seal the win. I think D Rose had like 36 or something. Like, he broke Kareem's rookie playoff record, scoring record that game. Then the next game, yeah, like, it just, you know, it was just, every night it was something. Every night it was somebody else was stepping up, you know, like, Game 1 was D Rose, but overtime was me. Then Game 2, we wound up losing. BG had a hell of a game, but then I think it was Game 3, was
it Game 3 and 4 you guys won back-to-back, right?
3 and 4, we won back-to-back, but I think it was 4 when Joe got the big steal at the end of the game, and, like, he's exasperated. Like, he's so tired, he just, then he just dunks it.
Yeah.
And like every game it was something. It was somebody stepping up. And I ain't gonna lie, man, we thought we had him.
I thought you guys
Like we thought we had him. We thought we had him, but I think that kind of for me it was, I wound up getting traded the next year, but for me it did a lot for my confidence as a player. So yeah, that was good. That was a good series. That was a good, good basketball. That was like, if you a basketball head, that was good basketball.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. Would you say it was one of your most memorable series as a Bull?
Man, what's crazy is I don't remember a lot of basketball games.
For real?
Nah. Like I say, like those were, man, I had a lot. I was dealing with a lot throughout my playing career.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of stuff I blocked out. Again, basketball was my sanctuary. So when I was there, I kind of just was like, but I actually remember that series. Like I remember, everything. I was there. I was present. I was present for that one.
Of course. Are you familiar with the saying, you don't know what you have until it's gone?
Yeah.
Now I hear you say it was your sanctuary. At what point was it when basketball started that you realized it was your sanctuary? How much?
Oh, early. No, basketball is still my sanctuary. My grandpa passed a couple of days ago, and I came in the gym and got shots up for like 2 hours. Like basketball gonna always be my sanctuary. Well, for me, I didn't know how to handle the business of basketball, right? So the NBA is a business. It's an entertainment business more than it is a sports business, right? So, I was telling you before the cameras came on, I like for my rookie year, I wasn't playing. Me and Scott was clashing for whatever reasons. I'm like, well, shit, y'all can send me to the D-League. And I wasn't saying it like arrogantly, but I just wanted to hoop. Like, I don't care. I just wanted to hoop. I didn't care where I was hooping at, right? But I didn't understand the business of, man, you the lottery pick. We ain't sending you to the D-League.
Yeah.
One, because that is going to make us look like we had a bad pick, right? But I'm not playing. I'm not developing. I'm just here. All right, cool. I ain't getting it right. Cool. Send me to the D-League. Send me to develop. Right? And so I'm not understanding the business of why. So now I'm starting to be combative. Right? I'm starting to have friction. Right? And so, yeah, it was the business of basketball for me that took the love away from me. Yeah. Like I don't blame people for the way my career went. I know what it was, and I lost the love for basketball because I was stuck in the business of it, and I didn't know how to separate the two and live in both at the time. Like in Charlotte, I had a coach tell the guy that was playing in front of me, if I ain't have to play you, Tyrus will play 40 minutes a game. And that just took all the fight out of me. Right? So it deflated me. Right? So it's like I could come to practice and work harder than you and outplay you and do all of this, but coach just said if he ain't had, and so it's the business of basketball. Right? And so for me, I didn't know how I ain't had it in my repertoire at the time. I was just, yeah, you live and you learn. And that's another reason why I'm so passionate about coaching. And specifically on the college level. Even I was up here, my agent hit me up a couple weeks ago and was like, so you sure you want me to stop reaching out with the NBA jobs? I'm like, I'm good where I'm at. Reason being, so like for instance, I need a degree to coach at the college level. Oh, cool. I don't need a degree to coach at the NBA level. I've done the NBA assistant coaching program. I've coached high school for 8 years. I've done the things to show that I'm capable of coaching and I'm ready, but I want to coach at the college level because of the impact that I can make, right? The realistic impact, not only from my experience with basketball, but my experience in life. I connect with a lot of these guys because I am them. I come from the situation that most of them come from. I speak that language. I understand. Right. So that's the drive behind coaching at high major college level is because I just feel like that's where God wants me. I think that's where I can have the most impact, not only winning games, but, winning lives.
Of course.
And so in hindsight, looking at how I handled my career and how I learned and the things that I faced, God needed me to go through all of those things so I can better serve, right? And I know it sounds cliche sometimes, but, and with boundary, right? That was another thing he needed me to learn, boundary, and setting my boundaries and understanding how I help and how I reach and how I teach, and this is it, so it all was for good.
Of course. With you having the remarkable story that you do have, we know that you went back home to Louisiana to coach high school, and you took a team that was 6-22 to being number one in their area as well too, winning a state title as well too. Can you just tell us how you plan to use what you learned there and take that to the college level as well?
Man, so I actually was assistant coach under one of my best friends, Dr. Brandon White, and man, we built that program, and even this is a part of it. My first head coaching job, he's my associate. It's no question.
Yes, sir.
Like, if I can't hire him as my associate, I can't come.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, but we built the program with the desire to do the same thing on the college level. So we didn't coach them any different, right? And so it's just all part of the process, man. It's all part of the plan, and I feel like we just that much closer. It's just left for me to get this degree.
Of course. Now, a lot of people here know you're here at Green Bay. You're here to work with the program as well too. Can you just tell the fans what they're getting when it comes to Tyrus Thomas being part of the program and what you look to implement to these young men going forward?
So again, I'm student manager, but I'm also a certified life coach. So just taking those same things that I was doing, working with kids in Louisiana, helping them be better mentally so they can perform better on the court. That's a big part of what I'm doing here right now, is just trying to help these guys transition into being college athletes, and then as well as being young men in society, and whatever that transitions to after that, making sure that they're prepared. That's the biggest thing that they're getting from me. It's just being able to ask questions and learn from my experiences and my stories, if that makes sense. Just to be able to give them another perspective that they wouldn't necessarily have.
That makes one hell of a tour guide, though. So went to the SEC, went to the NBA, and had his own personal battles that he's not hiding from, and that he's willing to admit that I wasn't perfect. I struggled with this. That makes for the best teacher. Yeah,
sometimes, I'm able to tell kids, they might have a moment, and it's like, nah, you can't do that. I understand how you feel is valid, but those actions, we can't do that, right? And it's because of my experience, I know now, and I'm able to articulate to them why, get them to understand and see, and so again, I think by just having somebody like myself who's been through those ringers and been through the ringers and the riggers, I can give them just more reality, because even at that age, I know how I looked at people who didn't play. It is what it is. It is what it is, right? I know how I looked at people who didn't play versus people who played. Some stuff that people didn't play, I'm not listening to that. Some people are like that. So I feel like I got the best of both worlds.
Yes, sir. How has it been feeling since you come to Green Bay and everything like that?
I love it. I'm not trying to rush into the fall or the winter. I'm enjoying this beautiful weather right now, man. But it's been good. Coach Gottlieb got the job, I think, late May. And we were out here probably 2 weeks after that, and we've been rolling since. So, I'm just trying to put pieces together, the new staff, new players. I think we're going to do some pretty big things in the Horizon League, so I'm really looking forward to this season.
Just to let you know, just a heads up, just throw it out there, Line for Line podcast does have NCAA credentials, so you will be running into us when you guys play Milwaukee or whatever the case may be as well too. So you haven't seen the last of us just from this one interview. We're definitely NCAA credentialed as well too, so
good.
You will be seeing more of us as well too. As we get ready to close out this phenomenal episode of Line for Line podcast, young man, what will be that lasting piece of advice that you would like to leave to the young athlete aspiring to just be great, whether it's basketball or in life in general?
I wasn't ready for that one.
Take your time, Pastor. I know you haven't done it, church, but take your time, Pastor. Take your time.
They gonna let me too. You know the kind they be waiting on that word. They gonna let me take my time.
Yes,
Wipe my mouth with my little rag. But nah, you know, I really do think that in life, really be intentional about what you want and why you want it. You know, not only what you want, but why do you want this? I think now a lot of kids are being influenced by extrinsic factors that don't necessarily align with their heart, right? And I think that's why we see a lot more, you know, mental health is a real thing. And even with mine, I never use it as a crutch. I always want people to understand how to deal because life not waiting on you. Right, and I don't care what you got. You do the wrong thing, you got to pay for that.
Yeah.
Every action has reactions and consequences, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and so regardless of what your situation is, just be mindful of your actions. Right, but I just want kids to, especially in sport, man, because it's hard. That's number one. Understand that sports are hard. Playing any sport, that's hard. It's hard. It's hard. We're asking you to come out here and physically exert yourself to the maximum amount every day.
And you may not get anything out of it.
And you may not get anything out of it. And I don't think that people really understand, especially kids. This, what we're asking you to, no. What you say you want to do, which is play this sport, is hard. Right? It's hard. You have to physically exert yourself to the maximum amount that you have every day. And if you didn't physically exert yourself to the max today, you didn't do enough. And here's the flip side. If you physically exerted yourself to the max and it wasn't enough, you don't have enough.
And that's time you're not going to get back. So if you didn't exert yourself.
It's time, and that's why I'm so adamant about understanding why, because we can't get this time back. You can get that money that you spent on this back, but you can't get that time back, right? So now when you in the 12th grade and you ain't got no scholarship offers, but you also don't have a 20 on the ACT, and you also don't have a 3.0, shit, you about to struggle now. And that money and that time that you wasted on that basketball or that football or that baseball,
yeah, it gets like that.
Now you realize that could have paid for 2 semesters of school, or you could have paid for that tutor and got accurate, because most states have the in-state school thing where with a certain GPA and test scores, you can go to these in-state schools for virtually free, right? So the easiest way to get free school is academic, right? So there it is. Kids, don't let the world make you think that the easiest way to get free school is sports. It's academics. I'll let you in on a secret.
Yep. And also,
and it's easiest because all you got to do is go to school. If you play sports, you got to go to school and you got to go to practice and you got games and you can't have a social life if you want to be the best at it. But if you just want to go to school for free, because that's what happened, I want to go to school for free. Hey, make good grades. It's easy.
That's where it's at.
Because that's the thing. I'm glad I was able to talk it out. That's it. Academic. If your rebuttal to if someone asks you why you play sports and your rebuttal is to get free education, you lying. You lying. Because the easiest way to get a free education now in today's society is to get whatever test score and GPA your state requires for you to get those in-state schools and go to those for free. Like, I know this school is flooded with kids who come off the in-state stuff. It's, and if you wind up having to pay $1,000 a semester, that's nothing for school, because y'all wearing shoes that cost $1,000.
Yeah. No, I'm just playing. You know,
True fact.
hey, come on.
You know, but those are the things that we have to put in perspective.
Yeah.
Right? We got to put those things in perspective. Right? Do I want to go and not play at this D1 state school, or do I want to go to this NAIA school and pay $1,000 a semester, but knowing that this business degree is worth a hell of a lot more than that business degree at the state school?
Big long term, longevity.
Come on, man.
Longevity. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been Tyrus Thomas, the animated guy. I'm your host with the most, Devon Booker. Thank you for listening to another episode of Line for Line Podcast.
You calling or you listening, tune in every week. Line for line. Oh yeah, I'm going line for line.